So, you talked about embracing the change, or can I even say embracing the fear, embracing the unknown. What's the opposite of that? Running away from it, avoiding it, ignoring it, which takes energy too. Yeah.
It does.
It's
It
it,
does.
it
And often energy it doesn't work.
yeah.
It's pretty rare unless you have split personality that you can
Right. No,
that you can do
I
that.
caught
I'm not
my
saying it's not possible, but I'm saying
I played a ladder match last week. Actually, the first round of this kind of internal tournament here at home. And a gentleman I had beaten before. I had watched a little bit of the scores over the last 6 months, seen that he had improved. I felt that I had improved. And, we play on clay and he's serving volleying. And my recreational level, it was interesting. And my reaction was I was kind of avoiding. I was trying to finesse it. I was maybe, even if he came in on a second serve, I was trying to lob. And I caught myself on the break on this changeover. And I said, make him hit the ball. But more importantly, not like make him hit the ball. I was like, embrace this. He's coming at you. You know, don't run away. Don't try to hit a lob and run away from it. And I'm doing it in a very roundabout way, talking about me, is that the minute it was 3-all and I caught myself, I went to the towel. He was serving and I broke him. And I didn't do anything differently other than I shifted my mind a little bit and I said, I'm not going to do lobs. So that was one action that I altered. Energetically, I was a little bit more aware and he hit a few volleys that I got to, whereas before I wasn't getting to him. And it was that subtle shift. I won the match. I moved on. I have to play now the number one seed. But I can see that happening at work too, where there's an uncomfortable conversation or there's a difficult challenge that needs to be resolved. And it's not like, let's run into the fire with bare feet and Tony Robbins them to death. But you do kind of have to face the fire. And,
well,
that's
if you don't have that courageous if you don't have that courageous conversation, then it's going to backfire. It'll just build up and build up and build up, and it'll create a much bigger problem. And so, one of the keynote talks I have on your fantastic website is from surviving to thriving, and the leader as coach and taking on a coach mentality is the way of the future. In fact, I mean, we're reframing that to say is the way of now. So my book is based on the research of over 520 of the world's leading coaches, asking them in 1 to a maximum of 3 words, what makes a great coach? Those top 10 practices, and they're practices because we have to practice them daily. You don't go listening. Yeah, I do that. Just ask my partner at the end of the night. It's a practice. Listening is a practice. So I appreciate everyone for listening, but I share that to say if we can adopt a coaching mentality, then we are going to be able to live the best story of our life. I really do believe that. And that is what I speak on. It is what I'm passionate about, as well as, of course, women in leadership and changing the face of the game in terms of representation and in terms of how we leader as coach philosophy to be able to, as I said, bring out the best in ourselves and in our work and team members.
Well, I just want to, we're going to kind of round off. I want to land the plane a little bit here as we come to the end of it, but you struck on something that maybe we can revisit at another point because it's a really rich conversation. I've had the pleasure of working with incredible people who are also women and athletes, ex-political leaders, business pioneers. I had Senator Mosley Braun. She was the first Black female in the Senate ever. But what you point to is really interesting. And again, I'm going to talk about me here. 15 years ago, when I was living in Argentina, my coach was Gabriela Castro. Gabi got to about 61st in the world. She played doubles with Conchita Martinez. And I always joked, in a mostly macho culture in Argentina, I looked at all the teachers in the club and I just liked her style, man or woman. She took notes. She was methodical. There were guys that had played in the French Open. There were guys that got to the 3rd, 4th round of Australia, Davis Cup doubles, top 100 players and everything. And I always joked when Andy Murray took on Maresmo, that I said, oh, everybody's a copycat. I'm setting the trend. But you see it in the NBA, you see it in the NFL, you see it all over. And it's just like, what the heck is the difference? Expertise is expertise. Knowledge is knowledge. Coaching, which is we spend a lot of energy talking about energy. And I think, Emma, with Title IX and everything that's happening in the world of sport and in the corporate world, I think over 50% of Fortune 500 CEOs are now women. And out of them, 90% of them have participated in Division I athletics. So that's just my little infomercial for a future podcast with you on this topic. I have 3 daughters. I feel very passionate about it.
Yeah, I will just say with that note, that is one of the reasons I initially became a speaker in sport for female representation. And I'm proud that the Olympics is finally 50-50 men and women. This is the first Olympics where the numbers are the same. We need to get more female coaches on board at the Olympics. And lastly, Judy Murray, Andy Murray's mum, is a great friend of mine. And her and I are going to Africa next week to work with under-resourced kids and women of Kenya. And she says it's a snowflake. You have to create a snowball, but you can only do it one snowflake at a time. So maybe that's landed this episode to say, that 1% principle, just, how can you build a snowball by one snowflake at a time? And there's no way that I would have even met her and do the things that we're doing. She's an incredible coach, an incredible person. If it wasn't for taking action, if it wasn't for rocking up in Mexico when there was hardly any female speakers. And here we are. There's a lot more. There needs to be more and more again. But that is one of my topics, of course, on your website as well, in relation to how do we empower women in leadership till we get more and more, not just numbers, but it's about expertise. Expertise is expertise, which you said so eloquently.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example of active listening, because I did my research and I know that about you with Andy's mother, and you glommed onto it and landed the plane once again perfectly and beautifully. And I will take it one step further down the runway, Coach M. If you let's just take the United States of America, and this could be the case with Australia, your birth nation. If you take away all the all the medals that the men win, and you take just team and individual medals that the women win, I think in past Olympics, the U.S. women's team alone has finished up 2 or 3 on their own, just on their own accomplishment, if they were just a country without the American men, just to give you dimension to the achievement. It's just, take it to that mathematical distilling, and it's incredible. It's just incredible. So more on that topic on another episode with us.